The Crusades and the decline of Byzantine power in the East. The Crusades had profound and often detrimental effects on the Byzantine Empire, leading to a gradual decline of Byzantine power in the Eastern Mediterranean. While the Crusades were initially called to aid the Byzantine Empire in its struggle against Muslim forces, the eventual outcomes led to weakened Byzantine authority, internal strife, and external threats that ultimately culminated in the empire's fall. This exploration examines the impact of the Crusades on Byzantine power, focusing on key events, such as the First Crusade, the Fourth Crusade, and the ongoing relationship between the Crusaders and the Byzantines. 1. The Byzantine Empire before the Crusades. At the time of the First Crusade, 1096 to 1099, the Byzantine Empire was in a period of relative decline but still held significant influence in the Eastern Mediterranean. The empire faced multiple challenges. Seljuk Turkish invasions. The rise of the Seljuk Turks in Anatolia significantly weakened the empire's control over its eastern territories. The Battle of Manzikert in 1071 resulted in a catastrophic defeat for the Byzantines, and much of Anatolia fell under Turkish control. Internal instability. The Byzantine Empire was plagued by internal political struggles and leadership challenges, which further eroded its ability to defend itself against external threats. Despite these challenges, the Byzantine Empire remained a crucial player in the Mediterranean world, and its strategic position made it an important ally for Christian powers in the West. 2. The First Crusade, 1096 to 1099, and the Byzantine Empire. The First Crusade began as a response to the appeal of Pope Urban II, who called for Christian forces to assist the Byzantine Empire in reclaiming Jerusalem from Muslim rule. While the Crusaders' original mission was to fight the Muslims, their presence had both positive and negative impacts on the Byzantine Empire. The Byzantines' role in the First Crusade. Emperor Alexios I Komnenos played a pivotal role in initiating the crusade by seeking military aid from Western Europe. In exchange, the Byzantine emperor requested that the Crusaders swear loyalty to the empire and return any lands they captured in the east to Byzantine control. Byzantine involvement in the crusade. The Byzantine Empire provided logistical support, including military guidance and the use of its territories as staging grounds. Alexios I hoped that the Crusaders would help in retaking lost territories from the Seljuk Turks and re-establish Byzantine influence in the Levant. Outcomes of the First Crusade. While the Crusaders succeeded in capturing Jerusalem in 1099, they largely ignored the Byzantine emperor's wishes regarding territorial loyalty. Instead, they established their own Crusader states, including the Kingdom of Jerusalem, which were independent of Byzantine authority. The First Crusade indirectly helped the Byzantine Empire by weakening Muslim control over the Levant, but the establishment of the Crusader states also meant that the Byzantine Empire was no longer the sole Christian power in the Eastern Mediterranean. The Crusaders became autonomous powers, limiting Byzantine influence in the region. 3. The Fourth Crusade and the fall of Constantinople, 1204. The most devastating blow to Byzantine power came with the Fourth Crusade, 1202 to 1204. The crusade, initially intended to recapture Jerusalem, turned into an unanticipated attack on the Byzantine capital of Constantinople, leading to the sack of the city and the creation of the Latin Empire. The diversion of the Fourth Crusade. The Fourth Crusade was diverted to Constantinople due to a series of political and financial complications. The Crusaders, who were in debt to the Venetians for ships, were persuaded to attack Constantinople by Venetian Doge Enrico Dandolo, who had his own ambitions of weakening Byzantine power and increasing Venetian dominance in the Mediterranean. The Crusaders, initially intended to fight Muslims, attacked the Christian city of Constantinople in 1204, capturing and sacking it. The city was looted, churches were desecrated, and priceless relics were taken, including the famous horses of St. Mark, which were transported to Venice. Impact on Byzantine power. The sack of Constantinople marked the beginning of the Byzantine Empire's final decline. The Byzantines lost their capital, their wealth, and their religious and cultural prestige. The Latin Empire was established in Constantinople, and many Byzantine elites were either exiled or murdered. The Byzantine Empire was fractured into smaller states, such as the Empire of Nicaea, the Despotate of Epirus, and the Empire of Trebizond, but none of these successor states were able to reclaim the lost territories until the Byzantine Restoration in 1261, when Michael VIII Palaiologos recaptured Constantinople. 4. The decline of Byzantine power post-Crusades. After the Fourth Crusade and the establishment of the Latin Empire, the Byzantine Empire was severely weakened. The Crusades had, ironically, both directly and indirectly contributed to its downfall. Loss of prestige and influence. The Crusaders' sack of Constantinople was a blow to the Byzantine Empire's prestige as the center of Orthodox Christianity. The Great Schism of 1054 had already divided the Eastern Orthodox and Roman Catholic churches, but the Crusades and the sacking of Constantinople deepened the animosity between the two. The Byzantine Empire, once a political and religious beacon, was now a shadow of its former self, struggling to regain control over its territories while facing increased pressure from both Western and Eastern enemies. The rise of the Ottomans. The weakening of the Byzantine Empire made it vulnerable to the rise of the Ottoman Turks. By the 14th century, the Ottomans had established a strong presence in the Balkans and Anatolia. In 1453, the fall of Constantinople to the Ottoman Empire marked the definitive end of Byzantine power in the East. This event is considered one of the most significant turning points in history, effectively ending the Byzantine Empire after over 1,000 years of existence. 5. The Crusades' legacy on Byzantine-Frankish relations. The Crusades fundamentally altered the relationship between the Byzantine Empire and the Western European powers, with long-lasting consequences for both cultures. Hostility and suspicion. The Crusades, especially the Fourth Crusade, created lasting animosity between the Byzantines and Western Europeans. The Byzantine Empire viewed the Western Crusaders as opportunists and invaders, while the Crusaders viewed the Byzantines as rivals and often as obstacles to their ambitions. This tension persisted even after the restoration of the Byzantine Empire in 1261, and the Byzantines continued to face challenges in reconciling their relationship with the Latin West. Cultural exchange and legacy. Despite the conflicts, the Crusades also brought about some cultural exchanges between the Byzantines and the West. The contact between Byzantine scholars and Western Europeans during the Crusades contributed to the transfer of knowledge, including classical Greek texts that would later influence the Renaissance. The experience of Crusader warfare also influenced the military strategies and fortifications of both Byzantine and Western European forces. 7. Byzantine cultural contributions during the Crusades. Despite the pressures brought on by the Crusades, the Byzantine Empire continued to be a vital cultural force, influencing both its contemporaries in the East and the West. Preservation of classical knowledge. Byzantine scholars and the preservation of Greek texts. During the Crusades, Byzantine scholars played a crucial role in preserving the classical Greek heritage. The Library of Constantinople housed many ancient texts that were not available in the West at the time. Many of these works would later be rediscovered by Western scholars, sparking the intellectual revival known as the Renaissance. The Byzantines not only preserved these ancient works but also made significant contributions to theology, philosophy, and law. Translation movement. Scholars in Constantinople translated important Greek texts into Latin and Arabic, facilitating the flow of knowledge between the Byzantine Empire, the Islamic world, and Western Europe. The works of Aristotle, Plato, and Galileo were translated and made available to scholars across Christendom and Islam, influencing developments in medieval scholasticism and early modern science. Byzantine art and architecture. Despite the military and political challenges, Byzantine art and architecture continued to thrive during the Crusades. The Hagia Sophia in Constantinople, an architectural marvel of Byzantine engineering, remained a symbol of imperial grandeur. During the Crusades, Byzantines also continued to create intricate religious icons and mosaics that influenced both the Eastern Orthodox world and Western Christian art. The Crusaders, despite their hostilities with the Byzantine Empire, were often deeply impressed by Byzantine architecture and art, which they encountered during their campaigns in the Levant. 8. The influence of the Crusades on the Byzantine intellectual legacy. Although the Byzantine Empire was weakened by the Crusades, its intellectual contributions continued to influence both the Eastern and Western worlds, even as it became a target of Crusader attacks. Greek Orthodox theology. Byzantine theologians like John of Damascus and Maximus the Confessor influenced the development of Eastern Orthodox Christian doctrine, which remained strong even as the empire itself crumbled. The theological differences between the Roman Catholic Church and the Eastern Orthodox Church, deepened by the Crusades, continued to define the Christian world after the fall of Constantinople. The Byzantines viewed their theological and liturgical practices as vital to preserving the true Christian faith, often in opposition to the practices and beliefs of Western Christians. Philosophical contributions. Despite the Crusades, the Byzantine intellectual tradition survived in the Empire of Nicaea, established after the Fourth Crusade, and in exile communities. Philosophical dialogues between Greek and Islamic thinkers during the Crusades contributed to the transmission of classical Greek and Roman knowledge into Europe. By the time of the Renaissance, the influx of Greek scholars fleeing the fall of Constantinople into Western Europe helped reignite the study of ancient Greek philosophy and the works of Aristotle, Plato, and other classical philosophers. 9. The fall of Constantinople and the end of the Byzantine Empire. The Byzantine Empire's collapse following the Fourth Crusade and its final fall to the Ottomans in 1453 marked the end of the medieval Eastern Roman Empire. However, the loss of Constantinople did not entirely erase its influence. Byzantine influence on Ottoman culture. The Ottoman Empire, which succeeded the Byzantine Empire in the Eastern Mediterranean, inherited much of the Byzantine administrative system, culture, and art. Ottoman rulers maintained the Hagia Sophia as a mosque, preserving its religious and cultural significance. Byzantine officials and intellectuals who fled to the Ottoman Empire helped influence the development of Ottoman culture, art, and governance, blending Byzantine traditions with Islamic culture. Cultural and religious continuity. Eastern Orthodoxy persisted after the fall of Constantinople, and the Ecumenical Patriarchate of Constantinople continued to function as the leading authority of Eastern Orthodox Christianity. Many Byzantine customs, liturgies, and practices were retained in Orthodox Christian communities throughout Eastern Europe and the Balkans. 10. The Crusades and Byzantine identity in the modern world. Although the Byzantine Empire ceased to exist after the fall of Constantinople, the memory and identity of Byzantium lived on in both Eastern Europe and the Western world. Byzantine influence on the West.